up, guys? I'm Marcelo with TheTouringMusician.com. I'm here with Jon Ketchum, very accomplished guitar player here in LA. He's played with a lot of people, most recently Taio, Cruz, toured everywhere, all over the world. Right? You've been to Iraq, Taiwan, Europe,
Afghanistan,
Afghanistan, nice. So we're going to be talking today about all that, about his experiences as a touring musician. We got questions from you guys that we're going to get answered as well. And first of all, let's start with the first question, Jon. Where are you from?
I'm from Michigan.
You're from Michigan. And what made you decide to move to LA?
Well, ever since I was about 10 years old, I used to, sit in my basement and just practice guitar and dream of being a rock star, the cliche thing. And my parents and I found out about a school called Musicians Institute in Hollywood and decided that I was going to go there for college. So they moved me out here. That was in 2007, almost 5 years ago. And yeah, so that was the real reason to move here, was school.
Right, so you moved here for school, not necessarily for work or anything. Yeah. And what was your first big break?
I was at MI for about 10 weeks and I dropped out because I got a gig with this girl who was on RCA Records at the time, and I did a lot of touring with that, and really ever since that gig it's opened all the doors into what I'm doing now, and well, what I will be doing later too. Between all the networking, I got in with this guy who runs a musician referral service, and just met a lot of people, Marcelo, and so.
So you moved, you're here for 9 weeks, you got a gig, and that was just a snowball effect from there.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's all pretty much word of mouth, and you met the people through the first gig that you got.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole network experience, I guess.
Right. And what have you learned from touring with all these artists?
Well...
What are the pros and cons of doing what you're doing now, being a full-time musician, touring with these people?
There's a lot of cons, but I mean, to be able to play different stages every night and see the world, really, which you don't really get to. Most of the time it's like you're going to see the hotel and see the drive to the stage and then back, and if you have time off, you mostly just want to sleep, and at least my experience. But I mean, yeah, that's really the pros. I mean, just getting to go tons of places. I mean, I've played for the troops in Kuwait and Afghanistan. I would never have set foot in Afghanistan or Kuwait or Iraq. And recently, I went to Ireland and Taiwan and stuff like that. And so that's really the cool part. Cons, yeah.
Definitely not as glamorous as you'd imagine.
Not as glamorous. A lot of flights, and you're tired half the time, living off of coffee or Red Bull.
No roadies carrying all your stuff most of the time.
Not always. Yeah, most of the time you're pretty much always carrying your stuff. And I was on a tour called Warped Tour a couple of years ago, and we were in a bus. It was freaking hot for about 3 months, and had to push our stuff to the stage every day, pouring rain or not, and yeah, but
it's a lot more work than you thought.
It's a lot more work than most people think. I know I have friends joke, that are back in Michigan, like, oh, how's the rock star life? And I'm like, it's not what you think, man. I mean, it's better than your job. No.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Definitely. And a lot of these gigs, too, a lot of it is auditions that go on in LA. They audition a bunch of players to put bands together for all these artists. So how do you prepare for an audition? What do you think most people do wrong, and what can you do to stand out?
Well, most people, I feel like, don't look at the image of the artist, or if the artist is established, they don't look at the image of the particular touring band that artist has had before, or or overplaying in an audition. Really just knowing the artist and what if it's a pop gig, you're not going to want to shred or do finger tapping or whatever, and and it's like, if it is a jazz
We've all
gig,
been guilty of that.
Yeah, exactly. I did that at one audition, actually. And, if it's a jazz
gig... When
I
first came here, not to interrupt you, but I used to play a 6-string bass, and I used to do all the sweep stuff and all the crazy stuff, too. That's how I started off auditioning. It got me nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I did one audition where, I pretty much ripped it out of your hand. I was not called. But, not that you can't do that at some auditions, but, at a jazz gig, you're going to want to overplay and shred as much as possible or whatever, but yeah, I mean, really just, I guess, preparing to be asked to do whatever in the audition is another thing. Not just learn the songs, practice soloing, or playing the songs without following the vocal line, because most of the time the artist is sitting out there watching you and they're not going to be singing along. And we've done tons of auditions where they're ruined because at least one or two people didn't learn the form well.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll just put random people together.
Yeah.
Take a drummer, bass player, keyboard player, guitar player who have never met each other,
Yeah.
and one guy doesn't learn the song, and it just screws everyone.
Exactly.
Screws everything up. Also, image is a big part of it too.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just, they're practicing, they're trying to be the best player in the world, and that's not all it takes. A lot of time, image is very important.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of gigs that I know of people just getting gigs because of their image only. I would say it's about 50-50 most of the time, but you never know.
Yeah.
And,
there are definitely gigs where it's all image. Doesn't even matter if you can play or not.
Yeah.
It's who you know, what you look like, and if you can play, that's a bonus.
Yeah, that's a bonus.
And cool, and I guess the last question would be, what advice would you give to someone that's trying to do what you do, that's trying to move out here?
Well, I mean, really the image thing, back to what we were just saying, that's a huge key to which, when I was at MI, which I don't know if they have classes now, I know they have some audition workshops and stuff, but they didn't really ever teach me that there. Did you get that at Berkeley, really?
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, it was all blank.
I feel like
so I kind of learned that the hard way.
Exactly, and I did too, and I feel like if someone would have told me, like, look rock and roll the first, couple months I was here, I probably, would have had better opportunities at first or whatever, but it's a learning experience, obviously. Practice your butt off, like, don't just stick to one style. Like, if you just like Muse, don't just play Muse. Like, learn Keith Urban and even Britney Spears, or, learn a bunch of different genres, really, because, you never know what opportunity you will get and have to turn down because you don't know something or whatever. And obviously, we're always learning and trying different
and
things.
The singing is a big part too.
Yeah, I was going to say singing.
That helps.
I've gotten a lot of gigs just because I can play guitar and sing, and also keys. For guitar players, I mean, really being able to do like simple pads and stuff is a huge plus, and yeah, it's pretty much.
Well, so just being versatile.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You got to be able to play every style. If you can do a little bit of keyboard, if you can sing, add as much as you can.
Yeah, just as many things as you can find yourself doing that will make you stand out, because we go to these auditions and there's like, sometimes it's a huge cattle call of like almost 100 players, 100 bass players, or whatever, and it's like, you're just going to be another one, standing there, and stick out somehow, so, yeah.
And I know I said that was going to be the last question, but there's just one more thing that we forgot to touch on that I actually wanted to cover with you.
Cool.
There's a lot of people watching that live, in Michigan, Philadelphia, or wherever they are, and they want to do this for a living.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, do I need to move to LA or to New York or to Nashville, one of those places? And do you think you'd ever have gotten any of the gigs you've gotten if you didn't live in LA?
No. I mean, I probably could have in New York or Nashville. I mean, those are the really three main places with LA. And but I mean, yeah, I played coffee shops and bar gigs and whatever in Detroit, and that was fun. A lot of people love doing that. But if you do want to become a touring musician or as an artist, you need to go to one of those three big places. It's just impossible.
So you definitely recommend you do have to move.
Yeah. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Jon Ketchum, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much, Jon. Really appreciate it. Thanks for giving us your insight.
No problem.
Sharing that. All right, guys. If you guys have any questions, just leave a comment. There's our email. There's a form on the site where you can ask questions. I'll send them over to Jon and get your questions answered. All right. Hope you guys enjoy this. See you later.